This lesson focuses on section 8.7, which is called the cost of home ownership. Now, before we go and start looking at some problems dealing with this section, let's just remember a few of the terminologies that's in here. So remember, a mortgage is a long-term installment loan, and it could be 15 years, 30 years, 20 years. Sometimes it's even more than 30, but typically it will be 15 or 30, and it's for the purpose of buying a home. All right, so you usually will hear the word mortgage by almost every person you meet, and for which the property is pledged as a security for payment. Okay, now, if the payments are not made on the loan, the lender may take possession of the property. All right, so that's what a mortgage is. So a mortgage is just a long-term installment loan, usually 15 to 30 years. Down payment. Now, usually there's a down payment that's required. Not always, but sometimes it is required. So it is a portion of the sale price of the home that the buyer initially pays to the seller. The minimum required down payment is computed as a percentage of the sale price. And then the amount of the mortgage, so if you do have a down payment to make, the amount of the mortgage is the difference between the sale price and the down payment. All right, now most buyers will get a fixed rate mortgage. And most of our examples, almost all our examples in this lesson will deal with fixed rate mortgages. So a fixed rate mortgage will have the same monthly principal and interest payment during the entire time of the loan. Now remember in the last section when you dealt with car loans? So that was car loans, and that was section 8.6. That's the same idea. So it's a fixed rate loan. Okay, so fixed rate mortgages have the same, except I should say it's not a mortgage, it's just a car loan. Have the same monthly principal and interest rate during the entire time of the loan. And a loan that has a schedule for paying a fixed amount each period is called a fixed installment loan. All right, so that's all I need to talk about for right now in terms of the terminology. So let's just start looking at a problem. Now, before we go on, remember in the previous section we looked at this formula. So this formula was used to determine the loan payment formula for a fixed installment loan. And so remember that P was the principal, or the number of dollars that you borrowed. R is the interest rate. N is the number of times it's being compounded per year. And T is the time, and that's in years. Okay? All right, so we're going to use that formula with many of our problems. Okay, so let's look at the first problem. And it says this. The price of a home is $240,000. The bank requires a 15% down payment and 3 points at the time of closing. Now let's talk about a point. All right, so a point is a one-time charge that equals 1% of the loan amount. Okay, the loan amount, whatever you borrowed. So each point is 1%. So you could be paying 2 points, 3 points, 4 points. Usually no more than that. Okay, so but a point is just 1% of the loan amount. Okay. Now, often a buyer can pay fewer points in exchange for a higher interest rate or more points for a lower rate. All right, so you can negotiate something like this with your lender, whether it's a bank or whatever lender you may choose. Okay, all right, so that's what a point is. And the cost of the home is financed with a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage at 6%. Okay, so you want to find the required down payment. All right, so let's look at 1A. All right, so remember, in this problem, you are required to do a down payment. Okay, so 1A, you are required to do a down payment. and the down payment is 15% of the price of the home. So remember, to find a down payment, just you've had experience with this in previous lessons, you're going to say down payment will equal, now 15%, so 0.15 of the price of the home, so of $240,000. Okay, so using your calculator, go ahead and take your calculator out. We see that our down payment needs to be 0.15. Make sure you know how to use your calculator. 0.15 times $240,000, and that equals $36,000. So your down payment is $36,000. Okay. Now, if it says show work, this is what that means. So you got to show this. Make sure you show this. Don't just go and put the answer. You have to show where you got the answer. So and it's important. It's important in another way, that if this answer is incorrect, and you had the idea and you had this and you just put it wrong in your calculator, you can get some points for this. Okay, so you need to show the work. All right, B, find the amount of the mortgage. Well, remember when we discussed that the amount of the mortgage right here? So the amount of the mortgage is the difference between the sale price and the down payment. So remember, difference means to subtract. So instead of you borrowing $240,000, your mortgage amount will equal, and remember, it's the price of the home, which is $240,000, minus your down payment, which is $36,000, right? Okay. And so your answer, and again, show all of this. You must show all of that. And so your answer then would be, you can use your calculator if you need to. There's nothing wrong with using your calculator. $240,000 minus $36,000. Make sure it's $36,000 equal, and it's like $204,000. $204,000. Now, guys, another reason why you want to make a down payment is so that way your loan amount is less, because that will reduce the total interest you have to pay in the long run. Because you pay a lot of interest in the long run. It could be hundreds of thousands of dollars that you end up paying over 30 years. Okay, C. Now, C, they're asking you, how much must be paid for the 3 points at closing? Oops, sorry. How much must be paid for the 3 points at closing? Now, remember, 1 point equals 1%. But it's 1% of the loan amount. Okay? 1% of the loan amount. So, is the loan amount $240,000 or is the loan amount $204,000? Well, the loan amount is $204,000. That's what you're borrowing. You're not borrowing $240,000 because you made a down payment, right? You made a down payment. So that's what you're borrowing. So this particular loan requires 3 points. All right, so we're gonna find out the total amount paid for points. So total amount paid for points equals, so it's remember 3 points, so that's 3%. 3%. So let me go ahead and write it as 0.03 of the loan amount, which is $204,000. And so when I do that, I get 0.03, use your calculator, times $204,000, and that's $6,120. $6,120. Okay. Now listen to me. That loan, that point is an addition. So not only do you have to borrow this, but you have to pay this amount, right? So that's how much you have to pay. Now, if you don't have that money, you can always put it back into your the amount you're borrowing, which some people do. Okay? But that's how much extra you'd have to pay. So far, listen to what's happening. So far, this $240,000 house that you want is not only costing you $240,000 at this point, but you also have to pay this amount. Plus, and you're going to notice in a little while, plus the interest, plus any other closing cost. So it does cost to own a home. It does cost. And not only that, but keep in mind you have the upkeep, you have the wear and tear of the house over the years, the roof, the central heat and all that. So all that does add up, okay? But it does have its benefits as well. Okay, so total amount paid for the points is this amount, okay? So that's part C. Now let's get part D. Part D says find the monthly payment, and it says excluding escrow, taxes, and insurance. All right, so we're going to talk about that at some point, but let's just find the monthly payment. And by that, they mean let's use this formula, okay? So the monthly payment formula is this. All right, so we're going to use this formula. So part D, the monthly payment. Okay, monthly payment. We're going to use this formula. So we're going to use the formula monthly payment will be P times R divided by N. All that's being divided by 1 minus 1 plus R divided by N, all raised to negative T in T power. All right, now remember, you used this formula in a previous lesson. Remember, some of you had issues using your calculator, so try and get a handle on that. It's very easy, if you're not careful how to use your calculator, to mess this thing up, okay? All right, so now remember what I want. Just like in the previous lesson, I want you to tell me, I want you to write out exactly what these numbers are. So you're going to say payment, monthly payment will be P. P is the amount that you're borrowing here. So the amount I'm borrowing is $204,000. So $204,000 times R is the rate. Now in this problem, the rate is 6%. So remember, you got to write the rate as a decimal. So you got to say 0.06. So 0.06 divided by N. All right, now remember, N is the number of times it's being compounded per year. Okay, so N is the number of times it's being compounded per, and I shouldn't say per year, but per installment, per payment period, I should say. All right, so remember, N in this case is going to be, it's going to be 12, because remember, there are this percentage rate is 6% per year. Okay, 6% per year, and you're paying. Keep in mind how many times you're paying a year. How many times are you paying a year? You're paying each month, right? So how many months are there in a year? There are 12. So N here will be 12. So N is going to be 12. Okay, divided by. And for us, in this case, it's always going to be 12. Remember when we did the car payment, we used 12 because you paid at the end of each month, or whatever your payment date was. But it was once a month, right? And there were 12 months in a year. So that's why N was 12 when we did the car section, and then N is 12 when we do the mortgage section, the home section. All right, divided by, and then you're going to say 1 minus, in parentheses, 1 plus 0.06 divided by 12 again, raised to the negative N, which is, and remember what we did at that point, we used parentheses, remember that? We used parentheses, so put parentheses here. Negative 12 times T, and remember T here is 30 years. So T is 30. Close the parentheses and then bracket, okay? All right, now, listen carefully. This is where you can easily mess up in your calculator. Okay, so let's do this. So on your calculator, on your calculator. Just do the way I'm doing it, okay? So you're going to say 204,000, 204,000, just like this, parentheses, 0.06 divided by 12, close the parentheses, divide, see you're dividing, so divide, now put parentheses, okay, 1 minus, parentheses, open parentheses, 1 plus 0.06 divided by 12, close parentheses. All right, now you're going to raise this. That's an exponent, so you're going to raise it. See right here, you're going to raise it. So you get this, parentheses, negative. Your negative button's here. Remember that, right here. Negative 12 times 30. Close that parentheses. So that's this, and then you need another parentheses for this. And then press equal, and you should get $1,223.08. So $1,223.08. Okay? Now, sometimes they'll say round nearest whole number. Sometimes they'll say round nearest cent. This is to the nearest cent, okay? Nearest cent. So remember, the nearest cent, let me remind you what that means. Nearest cent means a hundredths place. So you see how 8's in the hundredths place? So if this was 5 or bigger, this would be a 9. Always remember that, rounding off, okay? All right, so that's your monthly payment. Okay, now, and one other thing before I go on, if you want to approximate this, you can. So you can say, well, that's going to be approximately equal to, and just do the nearest whole number, the nearest dollar. So let's say $1,223, okay? Because we're approximating this. 8 cents is not going to matter right now. All right? Okay, now, the next part was E. Okay, E. So listen to this carefully. E says this. Find the total cost of interest over 30 years. Find the total cost of interest over 30 years. All right, so let's think about how we're going to do this. So remember, what is it that I just found in Part D? What exactly is this right here? What does that $1,223 mean? Okay? Again, think about what that means. Well, that means that for each month, you pay that amount, right? That's how much you have to pay. That's your monthly payment. Okay, well, think about this. So I'm paying this for each month for how many years? For 30 years, right? So let's see how much I end up paying, how much the value of this loan actually is at the end of 30 years. All right, so let's do that. So remember, this is the payment for each month. That's what that means, each month's payment. All right, and so what I want to do now is this. If I want to find out what the total interest is going to be at the end of 30 years, at the end of this loan, then I need to take the monthly payment, multiply by how many months there are in a year. So that's 12 months in a year. And then for how many years? 30. All right, and so that's going to equal, so remember, this is the payments per year, per month, 12 months. So that will give me, what I want to show you is this. If I do 1,223 times 12, see this right here? This amount, what do you think that is? What do you think this amount is right here, that $14,676? Yeah, that's how much you paid in 1 year. That is the total payment in 1 year. Total payment in 1 year. So in 30 years, you would say times 30 now. So times 30, and you get this amount, $440,280. That is almost $500,000 over a 30-year period. And you might say, well, geez, that's a lot of money when I only borrowed $204,000, right? Yeah, it is. That's why many people, through the course of this 30-year, they put extra money towards the principal because it lowers your total amount paid. It lowers the total amount paid. So whenever you can, always put more money towards the principal whenever you can, every 2 months, every 3 months, 4 months, whatever it may be. It does lower your principal, which will then lower your interest. Okay, now remember, what this right here is the total payment. Total payment. Now to find the interest paid, you're then going to subtract. So to find the interest paid, that's going to equal this right here, $440,280 minus the amount of the loan, which was $204,000. And then watch how much interest you have to pay. So when you subtract those, you paid a couple $100,000. This is how much you ended up paying. That's a lot of money, isn't it? All right. So owning a home does cost. It does cost. So whenever you can, though, if you want to decrease that interest, pay extra towards the principal each month. Put more money towards the principal. That decreases the principal, which then decreases this amount you have to end up paying. Okay? All right, so that was number one. So number one dealt with this formula we talked about right here. We also used that formula when we talked about cars because it was an installment. It was a fixed installment loan. Cars, it was a fixed installment loan. So is a mortgage. Okay? All right, now let's look at number two. Number two. The price of a home is $150,000. The bank requires a 20% down payment. The buyer, which is you, is offered two mortgage options: 15-year fixed rate at 4% or a 30-year fixed rate at 4%. How much is saved in interest? Okay, now listen carefully. So, if at all possible, it's always a good idea to get the 15-year mortgage rather than the 30-year. And the reason is because you save so much on interest in the long run. The downside is, though, your monthly payment is a lot more because you're paying that loan in a smaller period of time rather than spreading it out. You understand? Okay. So obviously, if you look at this problem, I'm going to ask you the first question. So you have this 15-year fixed loan or the 30. They're both at 4%. Common sense will tell you which fixed year will give you will save you the most interest. Is it going to be the 15 or the 30? So remember, they're both at the same interest rate. It'll be the 15, right? So the 15. And the question is, how much is saved as interest? So really the purpose of this number two is just to give you an idea about how you can save in terms of interest, and also how much interest you really have to pay on a mortgage. That's a lot of money you have to pay on a mortgage because of the number of years you're paying it over. So let's look at number two now. All right, number two. So the price of a home is $150,000. The bank requires a 20% down payment, and the buyers offer two options. So 15-year fixed rate at 4% or 30-year fixed rate at 4%. And how much is saved in interest? Now, obviously, the 15-year fix is going to save you the most interest. Okay, the question is, how much would you be saving, though, by going with 15 other than 30? And only because the interest rates are the same. Keep that in mind. All right. So here's the way I would do number two. All right, number two. So first of all, keep in mind that you're not really borrowing $150,000, right? Why am I not going to borrow $150,000? Well, the reason is because I have to put a down payment. So we got to first of all figure out the down payment. So the down payment will equal 20%, so 0.20, make sure you put that as a decimal, times $150,000. And so my down payment, then using a calculator, your down payment then is 0.2 times $150,000 equals $30,000. So I have to put a down payment of $30,000. Now keep in mind that many people don't have $30,000 lying around. So usually what happens is you can always roll over that amount into your loan. Now, it's going to give you a bigger loan to pay off, and which means more interest to pay off, but you can do that. Many people is not going to have that amount, okay? So you could, if you have, let's say, $10,000, you could put $10,000 and then roll over 20 into this loan amount. Just keep in mind there are options out there. So don't let this example keep you from buying a house. You can talk to the lender. You can do many things with all these fees that you have to pay and these down payments. You don't have to. You can put some of that into the loan amount. Okay. All right. So that's your down payment. All right. Now, so before we figure out what the monthly payment is, though, we have to first of all figure out how much I borrowed. So the loan amount will be the price of the house, which is $150,000, minus the down payment, which I'm paying right away. So I'm not borrowing that money. I have that money I'm giving it away. And we're not giving it away, but you know what I mean. So that's going to be $150,000 minus $30,000 will be $120,000, right? So that's going to be my loan amount. All right, so how much are you borrowing? This is how much you will borrow. You borrow that amount. Okay? All right, so that's going to be your mortgage amount. Okay, now let's see what your monthly payment will be. All right? We use this formula. All right, so let's do the 15-year. So right, what we're doing now is figure out find the monthly payment for each option. Okay, so the first of all, 15-year. So first will be 15-year. All right. So using our formula right here, remember right here. So we're going to just have to have this in front of you. So the payment for 15-year will be how much I'm going to borrow. So I'm going to borrow $120,000 times the rate, which remember is 4%. It'll be 4% for both. So keep that in mind. So that'll be 0.04 divided by number of installments each year. So that's 12 divided by, all right, and then you're going to have bracket 1 minus parentheses 1 plus R divided by N, 0.4 divided by 12, 0.04 divided by 12, raised to, in parentheses, negative N 12 times T, which is 30. Oops, sorry, I'm sorry, 15, right? 15. And then bracket, close bracket. All right, now let's use our calculator. All right, so take it out. Make sure you get the same thing I get. Play around with your calculator. Hopefully you got this kind of calculator. That's the one that we suggested you get. All right, 12,000 times parentheses, 0.04 divided by 12, close the parentheses, okay? Divide, parentheses, 1 minus, open parentheses, 1 plus 0.04 divided by 12, close the parentheses. Now I've got to raise it to the exponent. Notice I put parentheses. Leave parentheses there, guys. If you don't, and you actually say negative 12 times 15, you're going to get a wrong answer. So put parentheses up here. Okay, so I got to raise it. So notice right here, raise, parentheses, negative 12 times 15, close the parentheses, and then close. Press equal, and you get, let's just go ahead and round off the nearest whole dollar. So $888, you'll see that? 888 is approximately equal to $888. All right, so that is my monthly payment. So that's my monthly payment. So that's the amount I have to pay each month over a 15-year period. Okay? All right. Now keep in mind that's the monthly payment, right? Monthly payment. All right. Let's find the monthly payment for the what was the other one? It was 30-year. All right, 30-year. So for 30-year, a monthly payment will equal same thing. You're going to see the same numbers, except what do you think is going to change? In all of this, what do you think is going to change? The time, right? The time. This right here. Instead of 15 years, it's what? 30 year. All right, so we're going to get 120,000 times 0.04 divided by 12. Bracket 1 minus, parentheses 1 plus, 0.04 divided by 12. And the exponent is going to be in parentheses negative 12 times 30. And then you make sure you close it, because you're going to forget to put in your calculator. All right, so here we go. So use your calculator. 120,000. Make sure I put 120,000. Okay. Times. Let me see if you can see it like this now. Times parentheses. All right, parentheses right here. 0.04 divided by 12. Close the parentheses. Okay, see it up here. Divide by parentheses 1 minus parentheses 1 plus 0.04 divided by 12. Close the parentheses. Okay, now let's do the exponent. Exponent. Just right here, right? Parentheses, negative. Don't forget, here's your negative. Don't do that. That's going to give you a syntax error. That's subtraction. This is negative. Okay? All right, so negative 12 times 30. Close that exponent, and then close the denominator. And then press equal. And you get 500. Let's go ahead and round off the nearest dollar, nearest whole dollar. So $573. Now remember in our discussion, so you may say, hopefully you understand why this one's lower than that one, right? Because the rate's the same, the amount borrowed is the same, so obviously the monthly payment should be smaller because you're spreading it out over a 30-year period instead of a 15-year period. Okay? All right, but here's the problem though. If you can afford an extra $200, actually $300, an extra $300, watch how much interest you're going to save. All right, so we're still not on number 2. Remember, number 2 said this. Number 2 asked you how much is saved in interest. Okay, how much is saved in interest. All right, so now here's what we got to do. Okay, so I know how much each month the 15-year loan is. Okay, what I want to do now is this. Now let's find the total amount paid for each option. Okay, so let's find the total amount paid for each option. Okay, so let's do the 15-year. So the 15-year, the total amount paid will equal, all right, remember this is per month, so 888 times 12, that's the amount for 1 year, right? So let's take a look at that. In 1 year, let's see how much you would pay. 888 times 12, you would pay $10,656 in 1 year. But in 15 years, that's going to equal, so times 15, $159,840. So $159,840. Okay, for the 30-year, the total amount paid will equal. Now, obviously, that's going to be more, right? You may say, well, why would that be more? You'll see. So $573 times 12. So in 1 year, you pay $573 times 12, $6,876. Okay. All right. Now in 1 year, for the 15, you paid that amount. For 1 year, for the 30, you paid that amount. But times 30. Now watch what happens. $206,280. So in the end, in the short term, your monthly payment is smaller, getting a 30-year, but in the end, you do pay a lot more for that loan. Okay, so you remember over here that $120,000 loan, you ended up paying $159,840 for the if you were doing the 15. For the 30, you ended up paying that amount. Okay, let's find the interest. So they want to know the interest. Okay, so the next part then would be find the interest. All right, find interest. Okay, so let's find the interest. All right, well, for the 15-year, let's find the interest. So the interest is going to equal, you paid $159,840. Whoops. You got to subtract how much you borrowed. You borrowed $120,000. Do y'all see, though, that difference, so when you use your calculator, you subtract that $39,840, that's your interest that you ended up paying for the 15-year loan. Okay? That's what you ended up paying. For the 30-year, let's find the interest. So for the 30-year, you just how much you paid. $206,280. The loan was still the same amount, $120,000, just like with the 15-year. But this time, when you subtract 206,280 minus 120,000, you ended up paying $86,280. See that? So for the 15-year, this is how much interest you paid. For the 30-year, this is how much interest you paid. And the question is this: how much would you have saved if you had done the 15-year? So you would have saved, and you subtract the two. So you'd say you will have saved 86,280, subtract 39,840. So let's see, let's do that again. 86,280, subtract 39,840 equal $46,440. That's how much you would have saved. That's the answer they wanted. That's a lot of money, isn't it? That's a lot of money. Okay, so what I want you to do is go back over number 2. Go back over number 2. Make sure you follow the steps. This is in Canvas, so these problems are in Canvas. So make sure you print this out if you need to. Read it. and then see if you can do the same problem without looking at what we did. Okay? All right, so that was number 2. All right, now let's look at number 3. Number 3. So in number 3, it says, in terms of paying less in interest, which is more economical for a $130,000 mortgage? A 30-year fixed rate at 6% or a 15-year fixed rate at 5.5%? And how much is saved in interest? Okay, so it's very similar to number 2, except remember number 2, the rates were the same, and basically they just wanted to show you that since if the rates are the same, you will save a lot of interest doing the 15 than you would do the 30. But again, you got to determine, you got to realize that if you do the 15, your monthly payment's a lot more than if you do the 30. But in the long run, if you keep that house for that many years, in the long run, you're saving yourself a lot of interest. You just saw in the previous problem, you saved yourself $46,440. And also keep in mind, you can always pay money towards the interest. You can pay an extra amount towards the interest, whatever amount you want. You don't have to pay the full monthly payment. Let me rephrase that. You do have to pay the full monthly payment, but if you want to pay extra to reduce the principal, you can pay $100, $150, $200, whatever you want. Okay? All right, and that's going to lower this as well. All right, now let's do number 3. So number 3, it's the same as number 2. Okay, so you have to look at the 30-year and the 15-year. Now, in number 2, you had a down payment. In number 3, you did. So there was no down payment. So sometimes a lender will not require you to do a down payment. Most times they will. They will. But sometimes they, depending on whether you're in some organization, for example, FHA, I think it's called, Future Homeowners, whatever it may be, they may be able to help with things like this. All right, but so number 3, you have, in terms of paying less in interest, which is more economical for a $130,000 mortgage, a 30-year fixed rate at 6% or a 15-year fixed rate at 5.5%. All right, so first of all, since I don't have to deal with a down payment, let's just go directly to what's the monthly payment. Let's go directly to this. All right, so let's find the monthly payment. Monthly payment. All right, so my monthly payment's going to be, okay, 30-year. Let's do that first. Okay, so $130,000 times the rate, which is 6% for the 30 years, 6%, so 0.06, divided by 12. Remember, 12 months in a year, so each one's for in a year's time. There are 12 installments. Divided by bracket 1 minus 1 plus 0.06 divided by 12 raised to the negative 12 times t, which is 30. So the time is 30, and then close that. All right, so now let's use a calculator. So let's find the monthly payment for the 30 year. Okay, so $130,000. $130,000. See if I can do this. All right, $130,000. Parentheses, 0.06 divided by 12. Close the parentheses. Divide, bracket, so it'll be parentheses. 1 minus, parentheses, 1 plus, 0.06 divided by 12. Close the parentheses. Now let's do the exponent. So your exponent's right here. Let's put that in parentheses now. Negative 12 times 30. close the exponent, and then close the denominator. And let's make sure you have two parentheses at the end. Then press equal, and then it looks like it's what, $779? So it's about $779 approximation. Okay. All right. Now let's do the 15-year. Let's find the monthly payment for that. So the 15-year, we're still doing $130,000, except this time the rate is a different rate. So 5.5%. Remember, 5.5% is 0.055. Okay, 12 installments divided by bracket 1 minus, parentheses 1 plus, 0.055 divided by 12. All right, now the exponent. Parentheses negative 12 times the time now is 15. And then bracket. All right, so let's see what my monthly payment for the 15-year will be. Okay, so I got $130,000. Make sure you can see this. Okay, parentheses right here. Notice it shows up. 0.055 divided by 12. Close the parentheses, then divide. Parentheses for the bracket. 1 minus parentheses 1 plus 0.055 divided by 12. Close the parentheses. Now the exponent. Raise it 2. Parentheses negative. 12 times 15. Close the parentheses and close the denominator. Press equal. And that is $1,062 to the nearest dollar. Okay? All right. Now, so that's the monthly payment of each one. All right. Now, what we got to do, so remember, you want to find out, keep in mind what you want to find. You want to find out how much interest is saved. So we got to, first of all, find out the interest paid for the 30 and the interest paid for the 15. Okay? To do that, though, you got to find out, so now I know that the monthly payment for the 30 years is this. So I got to find out then what's the total payment over the 30-year period. All right, so that'll be the next thing. So let's find the total payment. All right, so 30-year. So the total payment for the 30-year will be $779 times 12. So that's how much it will be in 1 year, but there are 30 years. And so that becomes 779 times 12 times 30, $280,440. So that's how much I would end up paying. So this $130,000 loan at the end of 30 years will cost me this much. Okay, 15-year will equal $1,062 times 12. So that's how much I would end up paying in 1 year, but this is over 15 years. And so let's see how much that is. So 1,062 times 12 times 15 gives me $191,160. Okay? So the question is this: which one's more economical? First of all, we can answer that question. Which one's more economical? Getting a loan, getting this $100,000 loan using this option, 30-year, 6%, or a 15-year, 5.5%? Well, the answer should be the 15-year, right? Why? Why should the answer be 15%? Because at the end of the time period, you paid less than the 30-year. So which one's more economical? So the more economical is the 15-year loan. Okay? You pay less, right? You paid $191,000 instead of a $280,000. And then they want to know how much is saved in interest. Okay? Well, it's just like number 2. So interest saved if you did the 15 would be $280,000 minus $191,000. Oops. Okay. Well, I'm sorry. Okay, so remember, we got to find the total interest next. I forgot to do that. So let's do that. So be careful because remember, that's not the interest, that's the total payment. So we got to, first of all, before I do that part, but it's still true that at this point I can answer the economical part is 15-year loan. All right, so let's find the total interest for each. All right, so interest paid for 30 years. So let's find the interest paid. Okay, find interest paid for the 30-year will equal $280,440 minus the $130,000, right? Which gives me, all right, so that's going to be $280,440 minus $130,000, $150,440. Okay. For the 15-year, that's a lot of interest, isn't it? For the 15-year, you're going to say $191,160 minus $130,000, and that's going to be $61,160, right? So that's how much interest you would pay using the 15-year option. So the interest saved, then, now we can do that. The interest saved will equal $150,440 minus this. And so I get $89,280. So that's how much interest you will have saved by going with the more economical one, which is the 15-year one. So when all things are said and done, doing the 15-year loan saves you a lot of interest than a 30-year loan. Okay, so that was number 3. Okay, so now we're going to look at number 4. So number 4 says, which mortgage loan has greater total cost? And total cost consists of closing costs plus the amount paid for points plus the total cost of the interest. Okay, and then the question is by how much. Before we go on, let me just remind you about closing costs. So in Canvas, I put this packet here for you. So always have this. There's a lot of information here about what fees you have to pay. So closing costs consists of a lot of fees. For example, there's something called the loan amount origination fee, which lenders charge for processing the paperwork of your loan. There's a fee for running your credit report. So yeah, they do check on your credit. A fee to underwrite and assess your credit worthiness, a fee for the appraisal of your home. Yeah, the home you want to get does have to be appraised. There are all kinds of other fees. You have to have a home inspection, a fee for title search to see if there's any liens against that property, and so on. Okay, so there are quite a few fees that you have to pay. Now, also in here, there's some information about how you can reduce the closing costs. So, for example, if I can find it real quick, let's see, real quick. So there's a section there called how to reduce closing costs. So you could look for a loyalty program with your bank. You could close at the end of the month. You can get the seller to pay. Some people do that. The closing costs, they'll tell the seller, you go ahead and you pay the closing cost. The points. Or actually some of the fees as well. So it's not just the points. It could be any type of closing cost. You can apply for an FHA loan. And then it says join a union. AFL-CIO members get help purchasing or financing a home. So there are all kinds of ways in which you can reduce the fees or the points, or someone could pay for the points of the loan. Okay? All right, so just keep that in mind. So this is in Canvas. So make sure you look at it in Canvas, okay? All right, so let's look at number 4. So we can get it back. Number 4. All right, number 4. Real quick. Here it is. All right, number 4. All right, so which mortgage loan has a greater total cost, and by how much? All right, so let's do number 4. Okay, so we have mortgage A and mortgage B. All right, so mortgage A. All right, so let's go ahead and let's go ahead and find the monthly payment. Okay, let's find the monthly payment. All right, now since nothing in here indicates there was a down payment, I'm not going to worry about that. Let's go ahead and find the monthly payment. So for mortgage A, we're going to use this formula. Use this formula right here. So you're borrowing. Doesn't tell you how much you borrowed, does it? Which has a greater cost? Let me just check and see if I left something off. Hold on. Okay, yeah, I left the amount off. So let's say this is a $150,000 loan. So let's mark that here, $150,000. All right, so your mortgage is $150,000. All right, so mortgage A. Okay, so $150,000 times R divided by N, so 0.055 divided by 12 installments, bracket 1 minus 1 plus 0.055 divided by 12, exponent negative 12 times the time. This is 30 years, right? Okay, and then close. So let's find out the monthly payment. Okay, monthly payment. Let's see what we get. $150,000, parentheses, 0.055 divided by 12, close the parentheses, divide, parentheses 1 minus, parentheses 1 plus, 0.055 divided by 12, close the parentheses, and now I'm raising it. My exponent in parentheses, negative 12 times 30, close the parentheses, close the denominator, equal about $852. See that? Okay, $852. That's my monthly payment for mortgage A. For mortgage B, the monthly payment, same thing, except this time, you had 1 point, didn't you? Okay, but that doesn't matter. Still, okay, we're good. We're good. It's still $150,000 because the point does the points reduce the mortgage amount you're borrowing? Nope, it does not. That's just something extra you pay. Keep that in mind. Okay, so all I did first of all is find the monthly payment. All right, so monthly payment for mortgage A is this. For mortgage B, let's find out what it is. So $150,000 times, and then this is 5% this time, so 0.05 divided by 12, bracket 1 minus 1 plus 0.05 divided by 12, raised to the negative 12 times 30, and then bracket. All right, so let's see what that amount is. Okay, $150,000. Use your calculator. Parentheses, 0.05 divided by 12, close the parentheses, divide by, parentheses, 1 minus, parentheses, 1 plus 0.05 divided by 12, close the parentheses. Now let's do the exponent. Exponent, parentheses, negative 12 times 30, close the exponent, close the denominator, press equal. So that's about $805. Now, you would expect that to be less, right? Because everything else is the same. I want you to look at that. It's 30 years. It's $150,000 each. So in terms of the monthly payment, you should expect this right here to be less because the interest rate's less. See that? That's 5%. That's 5.5%. Okay? All right. Now, listen carefully. So, I found the monthly payment. Now, let's find the total payments at this time. Let's find the total payments. Now, when I say the total payment, guys, I'm only talking about the monthly payment, all right? Just keep in mind there's some other costs involved. There's the closing cost and the points, all right? So we're going to come back to that in a little while. So when I say the total payment, I guess I could put the total monthly payments. Let me put that. Total monthly payments. Let's make it that way. Okay, so for mortgage A, it's $852 a month. There are 12 months in a year, and this is for 30 years. So that's going to be 852 times 12 times 30. So that's $306,720. My goodness, that's a lot of money. For mortgage B, that's going to be $805 for 1 year. So times 12, and then for 30 years, and that's going to be $289,800. Okay? All right, so that's where we at. That's where we are. Okay, now you want to find the overall total cost. Okay? Keep in mind though that for mortgage A you had to pay 1 point, and for mortgage B you had to pay 2 points. Okay? All right. Now here's how I would do this. All right. So the total cost for mortgage A. Listen carefully. For mortgage A will be the total monthly payments plus the closing costs, which they told you was $3,000. So plus $3,000, plus your points. And remember, a point represents 1%. So for this, it's 1 point. Remember, 1 point. So it's 0.01 of the amount you borrowed. And the amount I borrowed was $150,000. And so that's going to be 306,720 plus 3,000 plus 0.01 times 150,000 equal $311,220. So that's your total cost. Okay? So remember, this is your closing cost right here. And that's your points. So remember, to get how much you pay for point is the percentage times the amount you borrowed. For mortgage B, do the same thing. So $289,800 plus the closing cost in this case is $2,500. $2,500 plus the points. Now let me just say this. Sometimes when you get a lower interest rate, they increase the points. Sometimes when they lower the points, they increase the interest rate. So keep that in mind when you're talking about borrowing money for a mortgage. All right, so this time the points will be, there are 2 points here, so 0.02 times $150,000, right? Okay, let's see how much that would be. So, even though the closing cost is the same, notice the point. The point here would be more, right? Because you're paying 2 points instead of 1. Okay. $289,800 times, plus 2,500 plus 0.02 times $150,000 Make sure I did 150,000. One, I did too many zeros, so let me delete one of the zeros. Okay, equal $295,300. Okay, so $295,300. I'll make sure that was right. So that's 0.02 times $150,000. Okay, plus, yep, all right, so $295,300. All right, and then the question is, which mortgage loan has a graded total and by how much? So mortgage A, so the answer. So notice the work, there's a lot of work, right? Mortgage A has the greater total cost. Okay, by how much? By how much? Question. All right, we're going to subtract them. So 311,220 minus 295,300 equals, so let's see what we get. 311,220 minus 295,300 equal $15,920. Okay, so that's how much it's larger by. Okay, all right, so that is number 4. Okay, now for 5 and 6, I'm going to go ahead and put that on a different video because it's going to take a little bit longer for this as well. All right, so that's going to take care of problems 1 through 4. Okay, 1 through 4.